Hi, and welcome to Bespoke Architects Daily Pinup. I'm Nicole Walters, Director of Bespoke Architects, and I'm about to show you what inspiring architectural images made our Pinterest boards today. Some really quirky and inspiring stuff was on the emails today, and I'm so excited to share what really caught my eye with everyone today. There was this great vineyard wine cellar up there. The way that they're storing their wine was what caught my eye. It feels like a giant bookcase. So that was just a beautiful way, obviously, to present the wine. Obviously, it's in a climate-controlled room. I thought that was beautiful just as a piece in itself. I also liked the way that integrated this vertical garden in that environment. I thought that was beautiful use of colour and texture. And then I really did like this little fireplace that they've built, and the fact that they've put the wood storage on top of the fire. That's something different that I hadn't seen before. And the use of sort of rendered parts to brickwork and then exposed brick face, dividing that fireplace to that wood store. So they were the three images from that project that made my board today. There was also an article that featured a lot of curves, and of course I do love a curve. So from that article, I grabbed this image here of an entry door into a restaurant. We can see that it's curved and it's so soft. The way it just molds around and creates this sort of pill-shaped opening, if you will, as fixed glass, and then a set of double doors there, sort of, or they're off-center in this shot, but I'm going to assume they're center from front on. So I really liked that as sort of an opening, something a little bit different. The facade on this building was just gorgeous, the way the material sort of wraps down and then reveals. It's almost like a skirt revealing a petticoat, isn't it? And you can see that that beautiful glass facade is sort of protected by the sort of the solid element that wraps it like that. So I really liked that as an image. And then this particular little structure, it just had some beautiful corrugated concrete over here on the curve, and then we have a solid curve, and then we had some timber screening in between. So I just really liked the play of the shapes and the materials in that composition, and that's why that one is on the board. Some interesting display cases today, obviously from a museum with all these birds in it, and I just thought that was just a really interesting display case. Obviously there are going to be people out there who are offended by stuffed animals, but I just thought that was an exquisite design of a display case. The way the shelving's done, the way it's lit, the shape of it at the end here, and even the way they've filled it with the large animal at this end, and then it sort of works its way into what I'm assuming is smaller birds at that end. I thought it was a magnificent display. And from that same article, I really liked this suspended display case. Obviously we're looking at now ceramics and china, and it's suspended from the top, and then I really liked the way that integrated that fluorescent light. So we've just got glass boxes with a glass shelf, and then suspended by steel from above. That's another beautiful display case. And there's no reason why these have to be strictly a display case that you would use in a commercial setting. This is something that could be replicated in a residential setting, and not necessarily displaying the things that we're seeing in them here, but other things that you might collect at home and really want to display them in a unique way. And I've certainly worked with clients who collect a lot of things that they wish to display, be it books, board games, miniatures, miniature trains. There's lots of things out there, shoes. There's lots of things out there that can be collected, and then finding really amazing ways to display them and display your personality in your house is always amazing. So just up there for display inspiration, they will be on the joinery and storage board. I really liked this pool from the White Tower house. We can see it's in a sort of a courtyard setting. On one side of the pool there's cacti, so we can assume the climate's quite arid. And then we've got this sort of built-in seating that I really like to one end of the pool. And then of course, if we're in Australia, at some point we're going to want to see a pool fence spanning that distance. But it was just a really nice layout and a really lovely use of materials, I thought. And then from that same project, their kitchen, this sort of monolithic island bench with the sink and the cooking zone in it. and then sort of minimalist storage at the back. It just presents just as a beautiful white box to the living space, however, and I really liked that. Again, on kitchens, this one was a bit quirky. It's sort of got no storage whatsoever in it. It's just a stainless steel bench with exposed surfaces underneath. There is a gas hob at this end of it. And then we can see the sink and the plumbing in that. So that was something just a little bit different, really basic, bare bones, utility style kitchen. And then there was this other quirky kitchen in this actual property. I did pin a lot from it because I really did like the material palette itself. But the kitchen I found fascinating. It's sort of got the butler's sink in it, and then it's got these beautiful warm timbers, and then the really lovely sort of cast iron of that gas hob there, and just the fact that there is no overheads. There's just this one long line of hooks on the wall where we're hanging utensils and pots and pans, chopping boards, everything's sort of hung up on display. And then the way that they've mixed that with this feature light over the dining room table is lovely. To me, it's a really lovely sort of that sort of earthy terracotta color palette, and really well executed. From that property, I really liked what they were doing with their windows. So we can see here they've got this like bifold screen action happening on this wall. There doesn't appear to be any other sort of screening there. It is just what appears to be a timber screen. We can see here the awning window itself has a screening in it, while the rest of the window around that is glass. And then did I pin another image? No, not from that property. But we can see that the window next to that has again got the inverse. So the operable part is clear, and then there's screening above it. So just a really lovely material palette on this property. They did have a dedicated potting space, or a potting shed, if you will. It's obviously inside. It does have an air conditioning unit. It has this beautiful skylight. And then these just really simple shelves and a simple workbench with a sink in it, but just stunning. And then that was the long view of that kitchen and that beautiful feature pendant light. And we can see there in the background next to the kitchen that potting station. So a really unique sort of property, very much about the person who lives in it, which I always enjoy. So that is a beautiful property, and even note the corner of this swing chair in the lounge room is gorgeous as well. Moving on, there was other really amazing windows. This property just did some really nice, they're really large windows. They're referencing obviously the mid-century and the Frank Lloyd Wright style of window. They are in timber. I just really liked that. And then the way they'd done this sort of pivot window behind the kitchen island, the kitchen sink rather, was lovely. It's not a pass-through as such. It's not that I can see. Here I am trying to stand on tiptoes as if I can see across. But it doesn't appear to be leading out to any sort of al fresco area. It's just their choice for ventilating, obviously, that kitchen space. We can see that window referenced again in the lounge room. But again, it was the fireplace actually in this image that caught my eye, that really beautiful precast concrete. We have what looks to be like a steel element sitting in that, and we can see the mesh screen of the open fire, and then assumably the wood storage opening just there. This image may have been taken in summertime. Another really quirky window combination was this really long, narrow apartment where the rooms, so there's light, natural light coming from one end, and then it's a series of rooms leading back with no natural light. And they've chosen to do sort of like a bulkhead into the individual spaces that are fixed glass, and the rest of the images from this project were very similar. So there was fixed glass above the kitchens and the bathrooms as well. And I really just thought that was an interesting way to let light through and block noise, I guess, at the same time. So that was lovely. This project here, it was about these timber shrouds that we can see. This is quite a good photo showing it on edge and sort of from front on, but isn't that a lovely combination of materials leading to that door? Just a really lovely, simple and refined entry. And lastly, the inspiration from afar was this beautiful light fitting, which is birds sitting on a gold stick. And oh, forgive me, the lights in the office have just turned off. Bear with me. And I'll use my little clever Wiser Room app from Clipsal and turn them back on. I'm turning them on from my phone. Look at me go. And finally, to end, because that was the office telling me to go home for the day, is our little bespoke house for golf course house. The fireplace, the double-sided wood-burning fireplace between, as we can see in this broader image, the dining room and the living room. And again, I mean, it's quite obvious when I'm pinning. I am pinning for a lot of people, not just myself, but I do have a very strong palette that I love to work with. And I love working with clients where we're expressing them as an individual in their property. And this is one of my favorite projects that's been built to date, because it does just that. It expresses the client through their artwork and their furniture. It gives them that really great space in which to do that. And then the color palette and the materials palette is that earthy sort of natural palette that allows the individual to really express themselves within. So thank you so much for joining me today on another episode of Bespoke Architects Daily Pinup. I'm going to go home now that the office has told me to do so, and I look forward to seeing you and all the amazing, inspiring images tomorrow. Until then, take care. Thanks. Bye.